getting ready for Historic Preservation Week coming up the week of May 6th through May 11th. Monday we have on the 6th we have the Historic Preservation Week proclamation. So Mayor Bob Scott will just proclaim it Historic Preservation Week. So we'll have our little moment in the spotlight at 4 o'clock on Monday the 6th. Some of our bigger events are coming up on the next couple of days. On Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the evening, we are going to be giving this Heights neighborhood walking tour. This neighborhood is really cool. We're going to explore it a little bit more, but it's just a great neighborhood with a lot of really nice diverse architecture, from some of the older buildings being Prairie School. On this Heights neighborhood tour, there are diverse types of architecture, everything from Prairie School to Art Deco, Italian Renaissance and Classical Revival. There are Tudor style houses. One of the older styles in the neighborhood is Prairie School. Again, Prairie School being popular in the first couple of decades of the 20th century. And this is a nice example of a Prairie School style house. This house was designed by William Steele, designed for a Norwegian immigrant named Hafter Sve. Hafter Sve started the Sioux City Optical Company, which still actually, I believe, exists today as Sioux City Optometric. Now, characteristics of the Prairie School, which we see here, we'll very often see masonry structures, so brick. We will see kind of a low-pitched hipped roof. So when I say hipped roof, it basically means it's pyramid shaped. So you have the roof surfaces coming down on 4 or more sides in this case, because this house does include bay windows. Bay windows would not be typical of a Prairie School style building, but the groups of windows that you see on the second floor and on the lower course on the first floor, groups of windows like that are very common. Now you can see also on the lower floor windows, all of these windows are double hung, meaning upper sashes and lower sashes, they come down and the lower sashes come up. Very often you will see on Prairie School houses what is called a casement window, meaning it basically hinges at the side and opens like a door would open, instead of this house, which these open like you might expect a traditional window to open. Again, the Prairie School was one of the early attempts at designing a uniquely style of American architecture. We had for a century been borrowing from earlier European forms, and the Prairie School is particularly dominant in a place like Sioux City, which is in the prairie. So we have kind of rolling hills, we have a lot of flat surfaces, and that's the whole idea with, particularly in the roof line of these buildings, is making a horizontal appearance. So the long horizontal lines, both on this lower roof line above the front porch and around the top, you have these long horizontal surfaces, so you are emphasizing the horizontal, which is just like the prairie. This type of building would fit in with the prairie, and using a kind of a natural colored brick like this building does, it blends in with its surroundings. Say there were no buildings around here and we still had prairie grass, this building would look like it just emerged up out of the prairie. So as part of this Historic Preservation Week, we're focusing on Art Deco architecture in Sioux City, and we're looking at places like the Badge Row building, which were designed by K.E. Westerland. But K.E. Westerland designed buildings other than Art Deco structures, including the Philip Verstegen House. This structure was built in 1930 by Philip Verstegen, who was the president of a local printing company, Verstegen Printing. If you're used to Sioux City documents, you might see Verstegen Printing on a lot of older documents dating back from the 1920s all the way up to the 1980s, actually. So this house is not Art Deco, it's not Prairie. This house is Italian Renaissance. Now, Italian Renaissance style houses are almost always done in masonry, like this one with the brick. They very often have a clay tile roof. I can't say if this house ever had a clay tile roof. I can't really remember if looking at older photos, but you'll often see clay tile roofs. Italian Renaissance houses in general are symmetrical, meaning from the front door, they're the same from one side to the other. Italian Renaissance houses usually feature large windows, or large doors in this case, on the first floor with a matching window above those large windows, but the second floor windows are generally smaller in scale. Just like this house, we have larger windows on the first floor and smaller windows on the second floor. Another characteristic we'll see very often are pilasters. Now, what is a pilaster? A pilaster is basically a column that is not standing independently. It's attached to the building. So on either side of this front entrance, you see what look like columns. Well, technically they kind of are columns, but they're attached to the building, so they're pilasters. And there are actually quite a few Italian Renaissance style buildings in this neighborhood. This is, I believe, the only one that Westerland has in this neighborhood. So Art Deco was born in France, part of the Arts Décoratif movement, which was applied to furniture, commercial design, and a little bit of residential design. There are a couple of houses in this neighborhood that are Art Deco design, and that's a lot considering there are only about 4 in all of Sioux City. It doesn't lend itself super well. Art Deco doesn't lend itself really well to residential architecture, but much more to commercial architecture and monumental monuments like the bandshell. Art Deco architecture and modern architecture is fairly rare in residential architecture, especially here in Sioux City. But saying that, we still have a couple of really neat examples, one of which is right here behind me. This house on East Solway was built by Sioux City attorney Abraham H. Barron in 1936. It was designed by K.E. Westerland, who we've discussed about quite a bit here recently, who was the architect of the Badgerow building and the Municipal Auditorium. So this is a modern building, and characteristics of modern buildings, which is again a branch of Art Deco, where you'll see smooth stucco walls like we see here. We'll very often see flat roofs. This house has a flat roof. On the south facade, there is a 2-story rounded glass block window, and those rounded glass block surfaces are really typical in Art Deco and modern architecture. Now, this house in particular was facing the wrecking ball a mere 15 years ago. A local teacher stepped in and bought it and preserved it. Unfortunately, he's now gone as well. This house is also interesting in the basement, the room right below the main protrusion here in the front. There's a great Art Deco style mural, a very modern looking mural showing like space flight. It's a city of the future is kind of what was envisioned in that. Of course, this is again kind of that WPA Depression era, and you have a lot of publicly funded art in that era. I don't think this was publicly funded, but it resembles that kind of national spirit, that American spirit, and then looking into the future, things like, because Art Deco and modern, these were forward-looking designs. This was what the future was all about. So there's a great mural in the basement of that building. We had this house, 1936. This house, 1937. This house was built by Charles Gossett, and this is also a modern house, or an art modern house, part of the Art Deco movement. But what is deceiving, if we look at this house at the roof line, there is a shallow, pitched, hipped roof on the top of this building. So it's a sloped roof. That is an addition. This house was originally built without a pitched roof. It had a flat roof, but as flat roofs often do, they leaked, so it was replaced. But saying all that, we can still see characteristics of Art Deco architecture, or the modern. It's entirely clad in brick, which is common among these type of buildings, brick or stucco. We can see the front porch where it says up there 2600. That's the rounded edge of that porch. That is that's a very modern element. And then the windows on the corners, on the second floor and first floor windows that butt right up to the corner without having a wall surface in between. Windows wrapping around corners is also very common in the Art Deco movement.